How do you feel about playing on the concert platform and playing in the recording studio?
I much prefer the recording, and I gather that this is not the standard reaction, because most people find the recording is very trying. They feel uneasy in the presence of something that is going to be permanent, and the microphone conveys this to them. But I feel quite the opposite. The microphone is a great friend because I was brought up with it. When I was in my teens and still at school, I didn't do any traveling at all. The only city in which I really played was Toronto, and perhaps once or twice a year there. And so that if I did any performing at all, it had to be on the radio, or from 1952 on television, when we had it in Canada. And I became so used to these media, to being alone in the studio, that nothing else mattered. In fact, I've often wondered if the justifiable complaints that I sometimes hear about my platform manner isn't a result of the fact that for many years, formative years, I could be completely uninhibited. And it didn't matter what I did, as long as the music got across. This was the only thing that counted for me. Because I had no yardstick of measuring. I seldom went to concerts even then. I never do now. And I had no yardstick, really, of measuring what other people did. And what I did at that time was done in order to make myself at ease and to get something out of myself which otherwise might have remained in and had to come out on the microphone to get across. And I often wondered if this didn't go back to those days.
Why don't you like going to concerts?
Well, first of all, I think I'm at all times slightly uncomfortable in great crowds of people. I always have been. Tend to become slightly claustrophobic in a large hall. I don't feel at all that way on the stage because there's plenty of room to breathe, but I tend to be that way when I participate in an audience. Less so in a cinema, because there everything is in the dark, and it's a sort of secretive feeling. The relationship of one person to another in a spectacle doesn't really exist. You are all sort of pretending that you're by yourself. I always have this feeling in a cinema, so I enjoy going to movies. I also enjoy going to the theater for much the same reasons. But to concerts, for the dual reason that the hall is generally brighter, and also for the much more important reason that I know too much about what goes on in a person's mind who is actually having to do this. And I feel exceedingly nervous at somebody else's concert. Much more nervous than I've ever been at any of my own. It can be the most capable person in the world, and I'm still almost panic-stricken.
Works really. No, that's quite true. I guess I've only recorded 2 or 3 pieces twice in 26, 7 years, whatever it is now. To do it until rather recently, when it occurred to me on one of my rare re-listenings to that early recording that it was very nice, but that it was perhaps a little bit like 30 very interesting but somewhat independent-minded pieces going their own way and all making a comment on the ground base on which they all are formed and to which they all conform. And I suddenly felt, having not played it since I stopped playing concerts about 20 years, having not played it in all that time, that maybe I wasn't savaged by any overexposure to it. Satisfied unless he could sing his heart out, incessantly, day and night, throughout that idyllic springtime. Not only sing, but go on climbing, up and up, forever. There was no doubt but that was where the lark would die, up there among the clouds. Perhaps at the peak of his long climb, he would glide in among the drifting clouds and there be lost forever, with only his voice remaining, shrouded by the air.